Hello, welcome to my channel. Today is day number 4 of the in Going Deeper meditations. Today I'm talking with Sunshine, and someone comes in that I least expected to come in, but they offered me some insight that I thought was really amazing. But first, before I go into that, I'm going to pull a card and see if it coincides with what the meditation was about. I'm using the Gilded Tarot by Ciro Marchetti again because I love this deck and it shuffles so nicely and it's just a great deck and it has beautiful images. So here we go. So I'm going to give these good mixing here. Yeah, so we're having sunshine today. The weather looks really to be really nice. I'm going to take a nice long walk to our club station and see if I can get some of these Spanish stations. They started a new activity yesterday and I want to give it a go. So here we go. So meditation card for today. Sunshine, Nigel, Ramon, tell me when to stop. Ramon just said stop. Okay, so I'm going to pull this card. And I got the Hangman. So another major arcana card. Really nice one too. These cards are really lovely. He is, well, it looks like he's what he's hanging from looks like I don't know. I mean, it just looks like a star or some kind, and he's hanging from there. But it looks like he's not really too worried about it. He's just kind of like the way his body is shaped. It looks like he's doing some kind of acrobatic act, just very, very calm, cool, and collected, if you will, and just taking things as they come and seeing what happens. This motion of suspension, of not knowing where things are going to go or what's going to happen, seems apropos in this time in our human experience. But the card itself just is really his outfit, his manner, the way he just looks is just almost like I'm an artist and I'm going to be an artist. And that's what it is. And that's what I am. And the way his legs are shaped and stuff, it looks like he really just wants to, like he wants to fly or something. And he's trying to navigate through this suspension and through this sort of like he's navigating his way through his experiences, but he is also not certain where it's going to go, but he is pretty confident that it's going to go in the way that he hopes. Okay, so that's what I get from the card, just from looking at the image and just from, just inferring the way that he looks. He doesn't look worried or concerned. He looks like he's just taking things as they go, going with the flow, if you will. So that's the card, the Hangman. Okay, so I'll just put this aside and I will read the meditation. So today is day number 4. It's April 16th, 2025. And I said, this day has started out nicely. I hope my husband can get some flying in. He went to the airport today. And Sunshine says, he will, no worries. And I said, they started a new radio thing yesterday. I think I will use the weather to get to the club station. And so, because no one hears me here. And Sunshine says, you will. How have you been feeling? I said, a tiny bit worn down, but otherwise okay. I'm glad that I took the break, but I'm trying to really hard to keep myself away from the news. Yesterday, while I was studying for the test, I got to thinking about history. Will the world recognize that what is happening in the U.S. right now parallels 1930s Germany? Sunshine says, they will, and it will expose a great deal of people's short-sightedness. I said, how do you mean? And Sunshine says, well, consider this. The world is waking up to the notion that history is a part of the human story. The events from 90 or so years ago are repeating themselves, but only the people have the power to stop it. You see, sometimes the recognition alone will not stop these things from happening. Sometimes it takes courage. Many people have the brain power to recognize what is going on, but they do not always have the will to make things known. When you were a child, there was a mass ending of life in South America. The topic of Jonestown is not something you know a great deal about. But it's a situation what can happen when a leader abuses their power over people and sends them over a cliff. This time in history is not something that is widely mentioned, as the people that followed the leader did so willingly. The same could be said for the Germans who allowed a madman to take control of and run their country. The viability of a leader is what is the driving force in both instances. When you have someone who is good with words or can articulate well, you find that people will say, "Oh, yeah, that makes a lot of sense," even when what is being said makes absolutely no sense at all. It is kind of like the people are mesmerized. They lose their free will when they are dropped into a situation where the leader exercises control over them. Suddenly, you have people coming in and saying, "How could you be so stupid and allow someone to dictate such rubbish to you?" The reality is, they weren't stupid. They were brainwashed. The people that were angry with you had accused you of the very thing that they themselves were doing. This happened once to you. I said, I remember I had been in an emotionally abusive relationship, and I remember seeing the abuse happening to a friend of mine, but couldn't see that it was actually happening to me as well. Later, I confronted the issue and said, I really did not realize that I was in an emotionally abusive relationship. Then I broke free from it and was able to move on once I realized that that is what had happened. Sunshine said, "Did you feel stupid after that happened?" I said, "A little bit, but it was a relationship. This is about something far greater in scope." And Sunshine says, "It's the same concept. When you were in that relationship, you had changed as a person. You later said that you did not like the person that you were during that relationship. You were rude to other people, which was unlike the person that you actually are." The reality is that a lot of people who are in those kinds of relationships with a leader make them show their level of hate. It's like those with a darkened veil over their eyes. They do not see what they are doing. You later went back to the person you were rude to and apologized to them. I remember you said that you had been rude, that there was no excuse for it, and you said, "I'm sorry, please forgive me." That released you completely from the heartache that the experience created. The thing is, many of these people will have to have the same sort of epiphany. Some will come out and say, "I'm sorry," but some will not. You asked Metatron once if your mother would ever apologize to you, and he said no. The truth is, there are a good many people who will only see the truth for what it is after they transition. I said, "That sounds harsh." Sunshine says, "Yes, perhaps, but you also know that it is not really your problem. You are not responsible for the reactions of other people. You did not burn bridges. They did. You do what you can when something happens or a consequence comes from your actions, but the actions of others are their karma, their responsibility." The reality is every person probably knows at least one person that his global situation directly affects. It does not mean that they are not able or capable of directly being impacted, but that they will know someone who is. I said, "It sounds like the 6 degrees of separation." And Sunshine says, "Try 2. The persons that you know, regardless of how fleeting that acquaintanceship is, know that you are affected by this to some degree. The people you know who are in the U.S., the family members who are supportive of this regime, all know that this is leaving an impact around the world. This is why people are reacting, why families are breaking apart. The people that you know are those who you would not tell everything to." And I said, "I know of a meme once. I saw a meme once. The word struck me because they said that these were the people I wouldn't tell if I knew where Anne Frank was hiding. It struck me to such a degree because I wouldn't tell them at all." I said, "This is a very sad state of affairs." And Sunshine says, "It is, but dawn is coming." And as Sunshine was speaking, another voice broke in, and it was Anne Frank, and she said, "It is coming. You will know it when it does come. After all, human beings are inherently good." I said, "You are very optimistic, Anne. I wish I could share your optimism." And she says, "Why can't you? You know that with people, they are good. There is not any reason to give up hope on humanity. Even in the darkest night, the sun will ultimately shine. And when it does, it will be the brightest light you will ever see. The dawn will break and people will open their eyes." I said, "Thank you for such a lovely reminder. I sometimes forget about that." And she says, "It was how I survived, Yvette, how my family did when we were in hiding. Dawn will break. We also knew that we were not alone. We had our guides with us." And I said, "I sometimes wonder if a lot of what you wrote was divinely inspired." And she said, "Perhaps it was." And I said, "Thank you for coming and talking to me. It means a lot." And she said, "Thank you for listening." And Sunshine says, "You see, even in the darkness, there's always light. That light will be the stars that guide you to the breaking of a new day." I said, "You sound like Anne there, Sunshine." And Sunshine says, "Well, we do speak infrequently, so it seems to reason. It stands to reason." And she says, "For now, we call it a day." I said, "Okay, thank you so much. Our chats mean a lot to me." And she says, "They mean a lot to us as well. Till tomorrow then. Chin up. Things have their ways of working out." And that is where we ended. Yeah, that was really kind of amazing that Anne Frank came into the conversation. And I look at this card and I think about that, and I'm just like, kind of, I don't know, it just feels right. But I am going to check here and see. And this is number 13. Okay. The Hangman. A man hangs suspended by one leg, his other at an angle to his knee, a triangular fashion. His expression is one of peace and calm. He does not show suffering or anguish. We can see that this man could easily release himself from the chains around his ankle were he so inclined. So his position appears to be by choice. This card is often likened to the story of the god Odin, who hung for himself from the tree of life for 9 days and as a result achieved enlightenment. In many cultures, including Native American cultures and Eastern religions, it was commonly for people to voluntarily place themselves in a difficult situation, fasting or undergoing some form of physical deprivation in order to achieve deeper spiritual awareness and enlightenment. That seems to really be fitting with the meditation, because you have someone like Anne Frank coming in who is very she didn't choose the situation that she was in, but she did choose how she handled it. And we are now all in the same situation where we must choose how we handle the situation. We must choose what we are going to do with the situation and how we are going to make it through that situation. So this card seems very, very fitting for this particular meditation. So I thank you for being here. Thank you for listening, and I hope you have a wonderful day. I'm going to get outside and have some sunshine and get that vitamin D stuff flowing. And I hope that for you that you have also that opportunity and that you can see the light, and that this too shall pass. All the darkness will pass, and we will come out into the sunlight, and we will see the world anew. So take care, have a wonderful day, and as always, namaste.